Hi, welcome to Martin Guitar. I'm Steve. I'll be your tour guide today. Follow me. So I'm standing at where a Martin guitar literally gets started. Our wood gets delivered right through these doors, comes in on tractor trailers. Our wood is getting delivered from all over the world and getting staged right here. So as we look inside of our sawmill, we can see we have many species of wood here. Once the wood comes in, it'll get inspected, checked for length. We'll see how much of the wood we can actually utilize at this point. Wood is something that you buy that not every square inch is always good. So the inspectors will look over the wood. Hopefully we're getting a good yield from each bundle that we buy. So as we look around our sawmill, we can find a lot of different species here. I believe this is a fresh bundle of sinker mahogany. Now this wood is very special. It comes from the rivers in Belize. Now this wood potentially has been underwater for the last 100 to 200 years. The wood is being resurfaced and it doesn't look like much right now. There's all kinds of holes and cracks all over it, but we will plane this down, we'll rip the wood, and we'll find the inner beauty inside here and make some sinker mahogany guitars out of this. Here's a really good example of some 12-quarter mahogany. You can see this is certified wood as well. Martin Guitar has been doing a great job of being part of the certified wood program, which is really about replenishing the wood itself, making sure that the wood that we're harvesting is getting replanted and used properly. The reason this is called 12-quarter mahogany is about the thickness of the wood. So the thickness of the wood is very important. When a piece is that thick, we can make a full-size neck out of that, meaning I can get one full piece out of it. Moving on, we'll see how we can utilize that wood. So one of the ways that we can utilize 12-quarter mahogany, we turn it into a parallelogram. Now this shape gives us the most yield to create the neck billet itself. So what the operators will do in this area is use a pattern to mark out exactly where they're going to cut the necks out from. What they're going to get out of it then is a neck billet that looks like this, getting hand cut by the operators on a bandsaw. So here's an example of a parallelogram. This shape and design will get us the most yield out of the product. So the operators will use a template like this and actually lay out on here exactly how many necks they can get out of this parallelogram shape. The operators will then take it to the bandsaw and then cut it out by hand. At that point, the neck billet will be ready to run on one of our CNC machines. So one of the other ways that the 12-quarter mahogany can be utilized is by ripping it into strips. Now we can see Tom, our operator here, is doing just that on a resaw. So what he's going to do is load the wood into the machine and it'll cut it into long strips like this, almost like sheets of paper. So we can utilize this now to make tops, backs, sides, anything we want. We do that right from the raw lumber. Other things that we can do with that 12-quarter mahogany, we can make front blocks, we can make rear blocks, we can make ribbon out of it. We can do all sorts of things just from that one piece of raw lumber. So one of the other operations that they'll do here is actually get the wood to the proper moisture content. So we have a drying kiln that we will utilize. We also have a wet room that we will utilize. So when the wood comes in to our facility, the moisture can be all over the place. It's coming from all over the world. So what we want to do is get the wood, the interior moisture content to the proper percentage. And we'll do that by running it through our proper programs here. So inside here, this is our acclimating room. So the wood will literally acclimate to this environment. This environment is around 42% humidity, about 72 degrees all the time, just like the rest of our facility is. So the wood will come in here, and what they'll do is actually put it on sticks. So what these sticks will do is allow air to flow through the pieces of wood. Now it's going to stay on those sticks for a minimum of at least 2 weeks. After that 2-week period, the operators will take the sticks back off, and then we'll do what's just called a dead pile, which you can see right here. So this lets the operators know that this wood is now ready to be utilized to make guitars out of. So every day the operators will come in here, grab the wood that they need, and get it ready to be processed in our manufacturing environment. So inside of our acclimating room is a place where we will actually store the components that we're making every day. So this huge wall of necks here is a good representation of all the necks that we're going to need to fill upcoming schedules. So we are making a good amount of necks, about at least a 2-week supply that we're constantly restoring inside this room. Now, when you look at these necks, we can see different numbers written on these. That's because every neck can be a different shape or size. We have close to 200 different neck size programs when we talk about the length, the width, the height, the shape of the barrel, the shape of the heel, the shape of the headstock, you name it. All of these represent a different shape and size. Now, what they'll do here, every single day they'll come down with what I call the shopping cart. Operators will come down and fill up the shopping cart from the list of items that they need to fill the schedule for that day. So every single day they'll pull off all the necks that they need. They might need 12 of these and 20 of these and 5 of those. Fill up the cart and send it up to our manufacturing floor to have the processes started there to actually make the guitar neck. So this is what we call our subassembly department. This is where we're actually going to create and match rosewood sides and backs. So when we purchase rosewood, it comes in big bundles. There's a bundle of backs and a bundle of sides. Unfortunately, they do not come pre-matched for us. So what the operators have to do is find a good match. So we're going to look for different characteristics in each piece of wood. Now, if you look at these two pieces of rosewood, they're both East Indian rosewood, but they look very, very different. I would not want to match this side with this back. That would not make a very good looking guitar. So what they'll do is try to find a similar match, looking for the same characteristics on the back as with the side. They're looking for color, grain orientation, just a lot of different characteristics. They want them to look almost exactly the same. If they can't find a good match, they're going to put it back on the shelf and wait for the next bundle to come. Once the operators have found a good match, they will label the back itself. They'll also draw out exactly where this back should be cut out to create the East Indian rosewood back for whatever model this will go on to eventually. After the sides and backs are matched, they'll go through a series of operations. We'll run it through a 6-head sander to get it to the proper thickness. Once it's at the proper thickness, they'll run it through a joiner to get the sides nice and square. Once everything is squared up, well, we're going to load it on our clamp carrier. So this is where the two back panels will actually get glued together. Depending on the style of the guitar, they'll add a purfling strip to the middle and first actually creating the back itself. The tops will get created on a clamp carrier similar to the back clamp carrier. Basically, we are creating large bundles of glued up tops, like you can see on the cart here, that will be ready to be shipped up again to our manufacturing floor where they can start to actually process the tops up there as well. Here we can see some technology being used. So this is one of our 5-axis CNC machines. What's really nice about this technology is that we can create a slotted head neck. So in the past, before we had 5-axis technology, we would have to create all these tool paths on our own. It would be a separate operation. With the 5-axis technology, we can load the neck billet onto the machine and literally create the entire shape that we want. Years ago, we would be using a draw knife and chisels and files to create the shape that we wanted. So it's taken a lot of wear and tear off of the operator and put it onto the machine's hands. So here we can see one of our 3-axis CNC machines at work. So we have 3 heads that are making the exact same movement so that we can mass produce the parts that we need. Now these machines will typically run one type of material or make one type of part. So this one is dedicated to making the fingerboards. So they'll load on the blank material, whether it's ebony or rosewood, and it'll go through all the steps. By the time it comes off of here, it'll just about be ready to be glued onto a neck barrel. What I'm standing in front of here is called the Micron machine. What this machine has allowed us to do is actually create a pocket inside the fingerboard so that we can inlay each fret into that pocket. Years ago, we used to use a bunch of rip saws and create the slots that way. But what that did was it left a hole right underneath the fret. We literally had operators that would spend all day filling in little holes underneath the fret. So long gone are the days of having to do that. Here we are at another machine helping to mass produce the necks. What this machine will do, again, we have 3 heads that are making the exact same movement. So we can mass produce, if there's an order, maybe we need 120 of a certain style of neck, we can load it on the machine, run the program. We'll run it throughout the entire day, maybe creating all of those necks that we need to fill the schedule. After the operator's done, load it on, run a different program. So we're mass producing as many necks as we can to help fill up the orders that we need. In this area, we're making all of the braces that will be glued inside of the guitar. So here again, we're utilizing some technology, some sanders, some chop saws, you name it, whatever we need to create all the braces that we need. So you can see in these bins here, we have a lot of different sizes and shapes of braces. So we'll label each one, we'll count each one so we know exactly how many we have. Depending on the size and shape of guitar, we'll load these braces up and send them to our operations upstairs. So this is our markout area. So we can see the operators here are actually inspecting the mahogany. Looks like he's got some mahogany sides here that he's getting ready. So here again, they'll use a pattern to actually mark out exactly where this guitar side material should be cut out. So the operator is looking for any imperfections. Since we're working with a natural material like wood, it can have natural imperfections hiding inside here. It can be cracks or wormholes or windbreaks or natural cracks. We'll try to mark out around any of those imperfections so that our guitars don't have any of those issues going forward.